Hello there, welcome along to Business Today. I'm Jerome Paul Soko with Winnie Williams and Akauchi on Sign Language. The first, a look at our top stories.
I am one of the beneficiaries of the support by I am one of the beneficiaries of the support by Croatia in particular.
Donated to Ugandan government has been received by the Foreign Affairs Minister, Honorable General J.J. Odong. Also, on the other hand, Uganda Bureau of Statistics National Labour Force Survey 2021 sees the statistics began collecting data for the National Labour Force. And then also, SME's Juakali exhibition is set to take center stage. That and more is what we have for you tonight in Business Today. And right now, we do start off with the Uganda Bureau of Statistics National Labour Force Survey 2021. The Uganda Bureau of Statistics has begun collecting data for the National Labour Force Survey 2021, and according to the survey, 67% of those who pay labour on the job make just oral agreements, and their monthly cash revenues are only 250,000 or less nationwide. Do we think adopting the minimum wage will solve this issue? This and more in this report.
I am one of the beneficiaries.
To realize the objectives of the National Development Plan 3, there is a need to have updated statistics on the labor market to support detailed analysis of the relationship between employment, income, and other socio-economic variables. Uganda Bureau of Statistics has therefore the mandate to produce the official statistics and coordinate the national statistical system. It's from this basis that it has launched the National Labour Force Survey 2021.
Where are the ladies in this delegation? That's right.
Based on the findings, the employment to population ratio, the nation stands at only 43%. The average monthly cash income for those with paying jobs is only 250,000 Uganda shillings or less. Honorable Dominic Kidudu, the Minister of State for Gender, Labour and Social Development, urges that in order to achieve high labour productivity levels, all workers should be paid fairly and motivated. However, the number of employable jobs is still quite low, which in his opinion has stopped Uganda from imposing the minimum wage.
Now, when you have few jobs, the law of demand and supply, the fellow who hires has an upper hand. But with time, this is going to change. First of all, with time, when we attract more investors and so on, you will find that the salaries, the unions will demand salaries. You don't give them the salaries, they will lay their tools, and you will have no choice. But as of now, if you laid your tool, someone else would take your job. So it is the situation we are in now, but it's a temporary situation. And the laws of demand and supply will govern the prevailing circumstances, and we are going towards that.
Honorable Mr. My honor request is from
Agri David Chibenke, the Permanent Secretary from the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, emphasized the necessity to analyze these statistics in order to organize and enhance cabinet-level discussions about the minimum wage.
Yes, minimum wage is a big challenge, a big discussion. It varies from one place, I think, to another, and that is part also of the data that we would like to pick. I'm told on average, the median is about 200,000 Uganda shillings, but there could be employers who are paying much less than that. And when this evidence is brought forward, it can help the discussion. I know that this discussion on minimum wage had gone up to cabinet level. So whatever evidence now is coming up can enrich the debate on the subject of minimum wage.
Among other findings include that 40% of the children aged 5 to 17 years were engaged in child labor excluding household chores. The Minister of State says, therefore, that they have started monitoring and evaluation to identify those involved in such acts.
As government, child labor is criminal, and we don't condone it. Like now is to improve on monitoring and evaluation so that we identify these people, and whoever is involved in it will be criminal and will be prosecuted. So this is an area where we can't tolerate, because the future of these children is embedded in education. And any parent now with universal primary education, with universal secondary education, no parent has any reason not to send a child to school.
The National Labour Force Survey 2022 further indicates that 41% of the youth aged 18 to 30 years were not in either education, employment or training. 21% of the working age population were in unpaid core work, while 24% of the youth aged 18 to 30 years had transited to employment. Pedson Mumbere, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now the Korean government has donated equipment to the Ugandan government, and these particular equipment have been received by the Foreign Affairs Minister, led by the Foreign Affairs Ministry, led by Honorable General J.J. Odong. The Korean ambassador to Uganda, His Excellency Park,
under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Odongo. Actually, our embassy and the Minister of Foreign Affairs have to work even closely together, because Uganda does not have an embassy in Korea. We are the only regular diplomatic channel connecting the Republic of Korea and Uganda at the moment.
Despite having diplomatic relations with Korea since 1963, Uganda has no physical appearance there 59 years later. And the Ugandan business community has been unable to take advantage of the opportunities for trade and investment there. Honorable General J.J. Odong reassured Ugandans nonetheless that they are working hard to ensure that they get the embassy in Korea.
This Excellency the Ambassador, the question of opening a Ugandan embassy in Seoul was raised, and we did indicate that this is not a new matter for the government of Uganda, because this is a matter that has been under consideration, and resources permitting, we should be able to open our embassy in South Korea as soon as possible. Because it is not a decision to be taken. That decision has already been taken. We are only looking for the resources to do so. We believe opening an embassy in South Korea, considering that we have had relations with South Korea since 1963, is important, because it will help us to consolidate first and foremost the relations that do exist in this between our two countries, but more importantly, considering the emphasis on our part now in as far as diplomatic work is concerned, the existence of an embassy in South Korea will enable us to explore more avenues of attracting investment and opening trade between our two countries. There is a lot of potential that exists.
Uganda and Korea were at the same stage of development in 1960, but South Korea is now a donor, providing loans and grants when Uganda is unable to do so. It should also be noted that Koika was responsible for Teju Fruit Factory in Soroti. Monica Nabyonga, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
The Affairs is preparing to organize the 22nd Juakali exhibitions for small and medium-sized enterprises. Director Andrew Musime says that this 22nd Juakali will provide opportunities for the private sector to promote products, ideas and culture in East Africa. Samuel Kirimunda compiled this story.
The exhibition, which is to be held at Kololo Ceremonial Ground, intends to promote goods, products, innovations, and culture within the community, with over 1,500 exhibitors anticipated at the 22nd SMEs Juakali exhibition.
Medium and small enterprises exhibition, or Juakali, which Uganda we are hosting this year in December. It's now the 22nd. This exhibition started in 1999 when the summit brought back the community they agreed that every year they needed to hold this exhibition to allow the participation of the private sector, especially the small-scale enterprises, in the integration process. Now, through this Juakali, we have these small-scale or small and medium enterprises in various sectors of the economy coming together in one place, exhibiting and showcasing their products, and also doing sales that bring together the commonalities of our East African culture and our East African innovation. The 1,500 exhibitors who are coming from all over the region. Now, these people will come with goods and the innovations that they will have. They exhibit for a week plus. Therefore, one of the expectations is that please go and visit. Number 2, go and buy. Number 3, for businesses, they should also go and make business contacts. In other words, they can sign MOUs between themselves. And then we believe that after the show, there will be another country that will be hosting this exhibition next year. We also expect Ugandans to go and participate on the other side.
Additionally, Harriet Ntabazi, the State Minister for Trade, has unveiled the Juakali roadmap for trade exhibitions with a number of activities beginning December 8th, 2022.
So the program is going to start on 8th, and on 8th we are going to have the East African and Ugandan anthems sung, the exhibitors showcasing and arriving and assembling in pavilions. Now on 9th, we shall have the inspection of pavilions by the heads of state.
Ntabazi gave exhibitors from the East Africa reassurance that health-related concerns will be handled properly to stop the spread of Ebola in accordance with President Museveni's directives.
We are aware that there is Ebola, and this Ebola is being managed. You heard yesterday the President was communicating. I cannot communicate more effectively than the President, but we put in place modalities on how to handle all those issues. And the East African community is aware that when you go into such a public, you need to do ABCD. And Ebola not being an airborne disease, we know how to handle ourselves. Not hugging, not shaking hands, not doing the other things that bring you nearer to the person, a person you don't understand.
The East African community promotes MSMEs by bringing together craftsmen from all partner states at the annual East African Community Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Trade Fair, formerly known as the East Africa Community Juakali Nguvu Kazi Exhibition. The East African Community Secretariat organizes the trade fair in partnership with Confederation of Micro and Small Medium Enterprises and other partner states. Andrew Barige, Samuel Chirimonda, SMART24, Business Today.
Size enterprises in the country, as the SMEs, which make up 90% of the private sector, are the backbone of Uganda's economy. Over 20% of the country's GDP is made up of the small and medium-sized enterprises, and today we examine the state of SMEs with some of the most important figures in this sector. Design Amabiru.
Micro-enterprises employ up to 4 employees and have a revenue turnover of less than 10 million Uganda shillings. Small businesses, on the other hand, employ between 5 and 49 people, and they have total assets that range from 10 Uganda million to not more than 100 million Uganda shillings. Therefore, a medium-sized business has between 50 and 100 employees and total assets of at least 100 millions, but not more than 360 millions. As the leading organization monitoring the performance of small and medium-sized businesses, the Uganda Small-Scale Industries Association, UZIA, is undertaking measures to boost their operations.
Giving them skills in terms of production, giving them skills in terms of product development, linking them to financial institutions, linking them to markets or network and other networks, and linking them to other organizations that can help promote their interests in the business.
For majority of micro, small and medium-sized businesses, switching to green business is difficult due to levels of financing. The Uganda Revenue Authority clarifies the taxes levied on SMEs and how to pay them in order to fully operate.
According to the Uganda Revenue Authority, are those that earn a turnover of between 10 million, but they do not exceed 150 million shillings. Now, those pay a type of tax, income tax called the presumptive tax or the small business tax. Now, this type of tax is collected based on turnover. So when you earn, every day that you make a sale, you add up all the sales that you make daily for the whole year running, and then what you come out with is the annual total sales, or what we call the turnover. So these are taxed based on the turnover. And we also bracket them depending on how much they earn, because remember, in Uganda we implement what we call a progressive system of tax, where the higher the amount you earn, the higher the tax.
However, the private sector believes that a number of factors must be exhibited for SMEs to effectively enjoy the benefits of determining economic directions.
The company's capacity and the ability to grow is being hampered by skills. The skills that of the workers is needs to be upgraded. Technology needs to be upgraded. Management systems need to be upgraded. Marketing and branding need to be upgraded. So we work with companies on issues like those that when we intervene, when we work with them and, for instance, train the staff, you'll find that companies' productivity goes up, losses reduce. Now, when you reduce losses and productivity goes up, you definitely are going to grow.
The Uganda Revenue Authority assesses SMEs based on annual turnover, meaning those with income between 0 and 10 million shillings are exempted from paying tax. However, those earning between 10 and 30 million shillings must pay 80,000 shillings as annual tax. Those earning between 50 and 80 million shillings must pay 200,000 shillings, and those earning between 80 and 150 millions must pay 900,000 shillings annually. Desire Nambiru, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
Now, the National ICT Innovations Hub was built by the government of Uganda under the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, primarily to provide an environment for ICT innovators who have issues with workspace and internet connectivity. The Managing Board of the Innovation Hub, as well as the Permanent Secretary and the Minister for Information and Communications Technology, met with the Parliamentary Committee on ICT to discuss the Hub's ongoing project, success and challenges. Mary Goreti Nachiganda has details.
Now, what drives economies that have made it is research, development and innovation. So one of the things we are doing as a committee is to look at how much money is being spent in the area of ICT. So that next financial year we are going to start fighting about harmonizing that money and focusing it into one thing, so that we stop wasting on silos and duplicity on things which are being done by others, which can actually be harmonized, and create the single platform that can actually offer services.
The Parliamentary ICT Committee, led by the Right Honourable Igembe Nathan Nabeta, stressed the importance of young people embracing technological innovations in order to keep up with the fast-paced world. In order to empower Ugandan innovators to conduct research, develop technologies that compete globally, and produce solutions that address the real-world issues across the continent, the committee promises to establish conducive settings and promote mindset change.
Last week I was discussing with some young people in Arusha, and I was telling them that the technological advancements that are going to happen in the 20 years coming will outweigh what we have done so far in the last 80.
The National Innovations Hub was built by the UPDF Engineering Brigade for 5.6 billion shillings during the tenure of Honourable Frank Tumwebaze as the ICT Minister. It acts as a resource center for Ugandan innovators by providing them with free access to all necessary services, including internet and computers, to help them develop their projects.
As the hub, our goal is to improve coordination within the ICT innovation ecosystem, thereby facilitating the development and consumption of homegrown solutions which in turn will increase employment and also reduce government expenditure on international ICT solutions.
Procurement, agriculture, logistics, transport and creatives are some of the important priority sectors that are identified in Uganda's Digital Vision 2040 and NDP3 development priorities.
The hub was created to support the realization of the following benefits. A, promotion of local innovations. B, increase import substitutions. And C, improved coordination within the ICT innovation ecosystem.
The innovation space is majorly concentrating on the young people, who make up 83% of the country's population. Therefore, the major 4 pillars that drive digital acceleration and transformation have been implemented, and these include an enabling environment, which includes the laws and policies like the Computer Misuse Act, infrastructure to be able to expand connectivity, equipping innovators with the right skill sets that help propel digital transformations, research, and innovations.
Partnerships we have developed because as in the innovation space, we can't work alone as government. We can't support innovators alone, but we have to ride on several partnerships that include the private sector. I think the principal talked about that, academia, development partners, and so on.
Commercial agriculture, industries, ICT and services are the most emphasized sectors of the economy, yet ICT still faces numerous challenges that are not being put at the forefront of planning.
And ICT. And it is the most well-sung sector everywhere because it crosses in all ministries. The Department of Information, the Director of Information and National Guidance has zero money for operation and has salaries for only 3 months next financial year. The IPFs we got. Next financial year, the PS can only pay salaries for 3 months in that directorate.
The Ministry of ICT is hopeful about the successful installation of the Pearl Africa Sat, which they believe will quicken the digital transformation and further boost innovations in the country. Mary Grace Nachiganda, SMART24 TV, Business Today.
And now we do head into a break, but when we return, we have the coffee court and we have more reports regarding clearing and forwarding, as well as the filler industry. Stick around.
SMART24, driving business.
Buto, the taste of Uganda in a new international park.
SMART24, driving business.
We'll be back from the break. Let's continue with more business today. Now, the clearing and forwarding procedure does start with arrival of cargo at the port, airport, or any recommended destination. In Uganda, for example, it is usually carried out at the Mombasa port. Cargo has to have all its importation documents reviewed before it can be released, and all costs and taxes must be covered. An authorized clearing and forwarding agent usually helps a trader during the entire process. Mathani Msima brings to you this report.
In the course of clearing and forwarding, the Uganda Revenue Authority assesses taxes on specific commodities. These taxes facilitate the processing and forwarding of transactions, assist in funding public infrastructure and services that promote growth, and are crucial in determining how efficient products and services are delivered.
Levies a specific kind of tax for each commodity. So they are broken down in a form of tax heads. There is the import duty, there is VAT, there is withholding tax, there is environmental levy. These are all tax heads under the final tax component that a trader or importer or businessman may find themselves paying. So you will hear many people say, we're going to pay taxes, but there are many variations in that one tax. And depending on what you're importing, you may find that perhaps some goods are paying zero import duty, but they pay VAT on the rest.
When goods arrive in Uganda, they are initially carried to the warehouse before being delivered to the trader. The costs incurred on commodities are fully covered by an authorized clearing and forwarding agent, allowing for efficient delivery of the items to a trader via the agent.
Cargo comes, it doesn't go straight to your warehouse or your stores. It first goes to a recognized and licensed URA bond, which is called an ICD, an inland container depot. Most of them are in Nakawa and Namambe, but regionally they exist. So there is that cost that is charged by those warehouses for keeping your goods safe during the duration of customs, clearance, and processing. There is a cost of course, transportation, because during forwarding, much of it is transport. Goods are moving from point A to B. So you will incur a cost on transportation, either in form of shipping charges or in form of road transport. We also have costs of damage if it has been accrued, if it incurs, if it arises. You will find that a trader or a clearing agent and a forwarder has to meet a cost of damage.
The uncertainty surrounding the cargo and conflicts with the agent, however, provide a variety of difficulties for traders during clearance and forwarding. Some traders also lack a clear understanding of the procedures to follow when clearing and forwarding at customs, which has an impact on the business in terms of service delivery delays.
Common mistake is importing goods when you don't know the tariffs. That's a common mistake that we commit. That's why sometimes we even fail to clear our goods out of the custom, simply because the taxes were far more than what we estimated.
Traders are urged to make research about the various tax tariffs to be paid during the clearing and forwarding process. This is today.
Let's talk Malta's film industry. As a way of promoting the film industry in Uganda, over 756 Ugandans have been trained into filmmaking, where over 16 have been recognized and awarded. This aims at stimulating growth of local content, attracting and building audiences, skills development and investment into the sector under the Audio Visual Content Strategy 2020 to 2025. Now Lulutumba with more.
The Audio and Visual Content Plan 2020-2025 intends to promote the expansion of local content, attract and grow audiences, improve skills, and draw investment into the industry. For the local film industry, capacity building initiatives are implemented that concentrate on skill development in order to give them the tools they need to compete on the domestic and international markets.
We got feedback from the initial judges that showed us skills
production, our works were lacking. So we started a program where we would do master classes for small groups in sound, script writing, voice, the different aspects of film. And this has been going on for over the years.
We aim at stimulating growth of local content, attracting and building audiences, skills development, quality improvement, and attracting investment in this audiovisual sector. And as part of our strategy, the Commission has undertaken capacity building programs focusing on skills development for the local film industry, the content creators, so as to empower them to compete effectively in the local and the international markets. So this year, in partnership with the Cine Arts Academy in the USA, we carried out training programs for filmmakers in different fields in the film production.
According to recent research by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, the total contribution of the local culture and creative industries to the country's GDP is estimated to be at 3.5%, with film contributing more than the majority of the other subsectors. According to experts, the Ugandan film and audiovisual business directly and indirectly employs a large number of Ugandans. This suggests that the industry has developed since many years ago.
The film industry in Uganda is budding. We are seeing it has grown leaps and bounds from the 2013 that we saw to today. This year, as you're all aware, Uganda has its first entry to the Oscars. We used to hear the Oscars and used to think it's for other countries. We moved, we had entries in Africa, and we used to think the Nigerians are going to beat us. But we saw that our own are actually competing very well in the African awards as well, coming back with actual awards being given to them. Now we have gone further. What we see as Uganda, or as Uganda Communications Commission, is an opportunity for our people. We can make money also as from film.
Uganda also continues to lose huge revenues due to lack of proper film structures, notably lack of a rebate system, as foreign productions of local stories have been moved to other countries. However, with this training, the story is about to change.
These classes, it's our opportunity now to show what we have learned. It's not good for us to say, I was the best in this class, or we did this, or this is how long we studied, but what is going to come out of us. We also want to break the barriers and want movies from Uganda to be talked about elsewhere, like we are talking about movies in Nigeria, in Kenya, and other neighboring countries. This time it is Uganda's turn. We've been operating as amateurs without principles. We don't know whatever we're doing, whether they were right or wrong. But during these classes, we knew that we were just gambling. We were working as gamblers. But the training has made us very, very professional, and we are looking forward for excellence in our movies.
With its actors and actresses participating, Uganda has also acted as a location for a few significant international films. Notable examples include The Last King of Scotland in 2006. Local production contributed to the 2016 Disney film Queen of Katwe, starring Lupita Nyong'o. The first movie from Uganda to be nominated for the Academy Award for Best Foreign Feature Film in 2019 was Connie, Order from Above.
All right, now let's head to the coffee court conversations. Speaking of the coffee court, food insecurity has been a major problem prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, and Uganda's lack for adequate food has been a very huge concern as well. Food reserves can be a valuable tool for improving access as well as distribution of food in the country. In the coffee court tonight, we discuss the food reservation situation in a country where the president continuously reminds Ugandans that safety of food should be priority. Let's have more in the coffee court tonight.
It is a pleasure and thank you for joining us on the Coffee Court, where we daily discuss matters of national importance. My name is Fred Makubia, and this time around we digest matters of scarcity of food in this country. What needs to be done? And anyway, what is the root cause of this? Of course, putting into context COP27, which in one of the discussions that they're addressing is the issue of global warming. And to address this, I'm joined by Madam Agnes Chirabo. She is the Executive Director of Uganda Foods Alliance. It's a pleasure, Madam. Thank you for joining us.
Good to see you. Good morning, and it's a pleasure. Thank you for hosting me.
You are so vocal on issues regarding food in this country. Why?
I'm not just vocal, I'm concerned. Because in any case, if there is a human being that is not concerned about how he or she is going to feed, or how you're going to feed your people, then you're not worth living.
It's the basic. It is the basic. So it's not, you're not just vocal, but you are a concerned citizen. Let's begin with the escalating prices of food in this country. What could be the contributing factors?
It's quite a number of factors, but the primary factor is the neglected factor. It's that over the years we have neglected the governance of our food system, and nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody, when we experience a food scarcity, wants to condemn the climate. We find all other reasons as to why we are hungry, as to why the food prices have gone up, whether it is fuel or what. I'm here to inform the viewers that the actual reason why we are living in this world, it is an issue of governance, it is an issue of inequality.
What do you mean by governance being a major issue?
Food is no longer a social product, something, an item you throw in the mouth. It is not just that. It's a political tool, it's a governance tool, it's an economic tool. You see? So if food is having all those faces, we cannot let it be by the rules of nature, and we do not have a system, we do not have a structure, we do not have the legal, we do not have the policy. We cannot actually tell the Ugandans well in time as to how we are planning how they will be feeding themselves or how they will eat the next financial year. Let me ask you, you have over the years been listening or watching the president in the State of the Nation address. Has he ever commented on how his people fed and how he wants them to feed the next financial year? Because he's imagining food will happen, and it cannot happen.
The president has, but even if he hasn't, his government, through the different ministries, have talked about the issues of food. I can give you an example. Every month, UBOS gives us a report about inflation, and one of the contributing factors for this is the food that you and I consume. So even if the president doesn't talk about it.
And then what do you do?
The Bureau of Statistics has mentioned, it's literally a position for government.
No, it doesn't. The Bureau of Statistics, see, its role is to give us data. And data in itself doesn't translate into food. For them, they're supposed to give us data, and we make administrative and governance decisions. And this is what I'm asking you. That all the time that UBOS has told us that our inflation is driven by the food inflation, then what have we done? Because the Ugandans are interested in what we have done that translates into bringing the prices down, that translates into food, that translates into their capability or ability to feed themselves. So you cannot tell them that there is data. So what? Should they eat data?
I brought that example to show you that government is concerned.
No, they are not concerned. They aren't concerned. We need to see much more than that. I have asked people, why is it that we have institutions on things that will extinct and we do not have institutions on what matters to humanity? We have an oil institution, but you know that oil is an existing resource. But do you know which institution is responsible for you and me to eat in Uganda?
All ministries are responsible.
Something that belongs to everybody belongs to nobody. And so nothing is done.
I'm literally saying that every ministry is responsible.
And I'm telling you something that is responsible to everybody, nobody is responsible. And in any case, if all the ministries were responsible, then you come to me to ask me about food prices? Am I the one to answer that question?
Because government has given you position to address such matters.
No, let me tell you, the role of
this to the right person.
Mr. Makubuya, the role of civil society is to complement what government has done. We are not supposed to lead and the government follows us. It is government to lead and then we follow.
That is true.
Yes, and this is what I'm talking about. Because the previous time I was on this set, I was talking about the role strategic food reserves play in an economy. And you could wonder why, of all things, we decided to privatize our strategic food reserves. They are not called food reserves. They are called strategic food reserves. It's an economic tool. And that is how we respond to food inflation. We don't talk about it. We take action. The food reserves are not meant to feed the hungry alone, although partly it is supposed to do that. The food reserves also play a role by releasing some of that food on the market, and it brings the food prices down. And then we manage the economics.
You seem to be pessimistic about the issues we are discussing.
No, I'm a realist. I'm a realist, I'm not a theorist.
If you're a realist, you wouldn't say government has not done anything.
I'm telling you.
Addressing these issues.
I'm telling you. I have just given you an example. This is how they deal with the food inflation. They don't talk about it. That's the role. It's a need for yesterday that government repossesses our strategic food reserves. Can you imagine the amount of money? Even the government becomes our competitor. Because when they want to take food to Mobende and Kasanda, they come to the market where me and you purchase food. And they are also the reason why these food prices are going up.
I've not seen government in Kalere. I've not seen government in Nakasero. I've not seen government in where I buy food.
You need to know that when a big buyer, by the way, when I was growing up, people never wanted to sell to government for two reasons. Because government was offering lower prices than the market price.
That was then.
But now we are living in an era where government, the big buyer, is offering exorbitant prices. And this is what the traders do. Food moves and exchanges hands. The food that you're seeing in Kalere did not start from Kalere. So when the traders hear that the big buyer and the high price offering buyer is going to buy, one, they hold on stock. Some of these castes we are living with in this country, what is the word? People hold on stock. They speculate. They are speculative sometimes. So people know that government is going to drop billions to take food to Karamoja or to take food to Kasanda and Mbende. Then they hold on stock and create a scarcity. So your government becomes your competitor on the food market.
The evidence I have is that that happens to a few business tycoons in Kampala, where you go and you want to purchase a number of things, and you can't access them.
You do not know the role they play in the grain trade. You don't know the role they play in regional trade. Because you have already accepted that they are huge grain traders. I have told you, those beans you're seeing in Kalero, in Kasubi, in Natete, in whatever market, they exchange hands. They exchange hands. So if the other ones are going to hold on stock, so what does it mean? They are creating a scarcity. And that scarcity, you will feed it whether you want it in a smaller village or what.
Inflation that emanate as a result of the food chain production.
I have told you, first and foremost, I would not imagine that food in this country will happen. I would plan for it. I would budget for it. I would project. At least on the few food items that when for instance, the matoke prices have gone up and the poor know that they can eat maize at an affordable price, that alone will push the matoke prices down. But now there is no opportunity, there is no other alternative. So I would stop imagining. I would streamline the policy, the legal and the institutional framework. I would have appreciated what food scarcity can do, not only to my economics, but also to the stability of my government. And I sort that out. A hungry person is an angry one. You can't govern, you can't rule over hungry people. They are reckless.
That is very true, and I think government has done that, except on the current situation where the reasons why we are where we are, some are external reasons, and that's why government has come up on many occasions to tell us to increase production so that we can find the inflation and the scarcity.
The problem of Uganda is not production. If you only know the post-harvest handling losses we have in this country, if only a farmer produces 10 kilograms of maize and loses 4. So is that farmer's problem production? It isn't. And I'm also here with authority to tell you that in this country today, there is enough food to feed everyone and even have a surplus to feed. The food is available.
Where?
Let me just tell you, do you know that in some parts of this country among the pastoralists, it's cheaper to take milk than drinking water?
In some places?
Yes, among the pastoral communities, milk is cheaper than water.
In some places.
So, is that farmer's problem production? You want him or her to invest more money and make losses? Do you know that harvesting, managing harvest is the biggest burden of farmers in this country? A lot of produce that we have produced goes to waste. Let me tell you.
Because they are not well sensitized.
A farmer in Uganda, whether literate like me or illiterate or whatever, goes into production without actually knowing when, how, and at how much he or she will. Let us stop thinking that farmers are, let me avoid the word. Farmers are investors and they make conscious investment decisions. You produce 10 liters of milk, you lose 7. And you're asking me I should produce 100?
But government has,
even when I don't have my senses, I will not.
Government has enacted laws. It has put up institutions.
For instance?
Government institutions, talk about NADS, that's one of it. Look at the Minister of Agriculture and Modern Industry, whose role is to do the sensitization we are talking about.
That is another problem, people thinking that agriculture is food. Agriculture can be anything that is not food.
It goes beyond food.
And that is why we have the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN. Were they so stupid to have both valuables in their name? They don't. It's because each stands significantly even when they interact.
That's why I also say government was wise to put all these ministries together. Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry, and Fisheries.
I have told you that agriculture is not food. It can be anything else, even when it can be food. That we plan for food. Let me tell you. Just look at Kenya here. It's evident. Every 2 years, countries under the African Union submit a report on how they are performing on the Malabo commitments under CADP. Can you imagine Kenya was the only country in the East African region that was found on track to end hunger? Uganda were off track. Why? Because they manage their food system. There is some element of the food system they are controlling. Kenya projects how much corn they will need to feed the Kenyans in financial year. And even do those projections and calculations of if we look at the maize that has been produced in Kenya and then what we are going to import in Uganda, I think we have a deficit and we need to go to country X and import to feed the Kenyans. This is where the difference is. So who knows how much food we need in this country to feed the Ugandans, to start with?
If you are in charge of Kalamoja, maybe as a minister in charge of Kalamoja,
yes,
what would you do to handle the issues of food scarcity?
Do you know that the country soil fertility map for Uganda indicates that Karamoja today has the most fertile soils in this country?
I am aware.
Are you aware that Karamoja and the people of Karamoja are pastoral communities, they are livestock-based communities?
I am aware.
If you're a believer like me in what I believe in, do you know that biblically, livestock keepers are blessed?
Like everybody.
So how did they become? No, you know the story of Cain and Abel. So how did they become food insecure when actually we know that that is our livestock economy?
That's what I'm asking.
Do you know that
where's
do you know that Karamoja has the best honey in Uganda?
I am aware.
So what are we doing to harness all of those opportunities?
That is why
the problem I cannot do is thinking of going to Karamoja and transform their food system according to my cultural values of where I'm coming from. I'm supposed to invest in Karamoja and mobilize investments in Karamoja based on their comparative and competitive advantage. Produce beef, not even dairy.
You seem to be running out of my question.
I'm not.
Madam Chirabo,
No.
what would you do?
I have told you, I will capitalize on their comparative and competitive advantage and make Karamoja my livestock economy for beef. And the economy sorts it out. Because if we strategically position Karamoja as our livestock economy, all of us will go to Karamoja with our matoke, with our pumpkins, because they would have sold the livestock and got the food that they want, and not necessarily translating a livestock geographical location into potato production. Things don't work like that. We are not here forever. We are not here forever.
And we are waiting.
We have a very short time to live, and we need to do small actions with the small resources in those smaller places and get big impact.
So
period.
Where does your government need to improve on issues of, you earlier on hinted that government itself is involved in the purchase. Yes.
Government has to bring back the power of feeding the people of Uganda in their control. It is their duty, it is their obligation under human rights law. They took that obligation, and particularly this particular ruling government. The first international instrument they signed was the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights in 1987, when they have just come into power, where the right to adequate food is enshrined. They have a duty, they have an obligation. It is in their selfish interest to know how every person in this country is going to eat, and creating an enabling environment that me and you and the viewer out there feed themselves. They are not going to run away from this duty. The costs are too high to the government itself by failure to take that action. We need our strategic food reserves back into your control, Mr. Government. And those food reserves play a very critical role because, one, the farmers know that a particular consignment is going to into government. The hungry, you will feed the hungry cheaply than the money you're spending. That's why we know hunger is not an emergency. Hunger has never been an emergency. But every time hunger strikes in this country, government is panicking.
It depends.
They are looking for supplementary budgets.
Depends where you pick it from. So in some areas, it is an emergency.
It isn't.
In some areas.
Which areas? We all know that when it rains, River Nyamwamba will burst its banks. It will flood. We all know that we are going to get mudslides in the Elgon. We know, and it happens annually. In a particular period in time, it sees as being an emergency.
But why throw this to government, the things you're talking about?
Because they have a duty and an obligation, and they took an oath. I did not.
But growth and development is a collective responsibility.
And government is supposed to create an enabling environment.
For us to be rational all the time by throwing what we can do to government.
What have you not done? What have you not done? What has the farmers not done? What have we not done? The farmers have done their best. They go to purchase inputs that are fake. They plow, they sow their seeds, they do not germinate. They go and buy calcides. They spray to ticks, the ticks smile at them. So what have we not done? And these are the things that we are talking about, an enabling environment. The farmers want to go buy a seed in its own right, sow it, and the seed yields. By the way, let me tell you, Ugandans are not interested in being fed. That is against their dignity. No human being, no gentleman here, no man in his own mindset needs another money to come into his household and feed his household. No, feeding yourself is an aspect of dignity. But what we are asking, the government should create an enabling environment. That's why I'm telling you that under such circumstances, government only releases food on the market, not give me food. Release some food on the market, bring the prices down. I go and purchase my food, and I remain a man or a woman enough in my household.
That's your desire, and that's your ambition. Please, as we plan to say.
It's a reality. It's a reality. As we end this segment, fellow Ugandans, let us bring back food in its original position in our households, but also in our small elements of governance. We are told how our cultural leaders in Buganda, for instance, there was Olusuku lwa Kabaka, because that was the territorial government. In your position of leadership, which place or position does food occupy? Because of its centrality, there is nothing. The hungry do not invest, the hungry do not innovate, the hungry do not think, the hungry are very difficult people to manage, the hungry become criminals, the hungry do all sorts of things. So if we want to sort out our socio-economic and political challenges we are living in today, let us sort out the food question. And when we are going to sort out the food question, it is not about the food as you see it on the plate. No, it goes beyond that. It is a whole system. We need to address the systemic challenges and enable everybody to feed him or herself.
I must let you know next time we have such a discussion, I'll find out whether it's about position or function, especially when we are dealing such critical matters. Of course, that will be our next question. Thank you for joining us. This has been the Coffee Court. Matters of food is one of those fundamental things that gives us an opportunity to talk about. I am also aware it's one of the things that if we are talking about Vision 2040, it's one of the things that government looks up to. This is the Coffee Court. My name is Fred Makubuya.
And there you have it. Many thanks for being part of business today. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Williams and Nakauchi on sign language. We've been coming to you live from Plot 42 Nile Avenue. Have a blessed night. Good evening.
SMART24, driving business.